Chelsea's striking department has been a subject of intense debate for fans so far this season, but have the club made un petit faux pas in pulling the trigger quite so early on signing Emanuel Emegha from Strasbourg? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sink, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, transfer news, sort of. Little bit of transfer news. Couple of targets that we're looking at, a few interesting bits, but ultimately the main focus of today's video is our striking department. So what a nightmare the transfer window was for strikers, right? Obviously, we brought in Liam Delap and João Pedro, and it was like, wow, that looks absolutely brilliant, amazing, great job. And then right at the end of the window, Nicholas Jackson forced through his move to Bayern Munich, which we tried to recall him, obviously, when Liam Delap got injured. But Nicholas Jackson was like, no, I'm staying here. And it was like, okay, so that was a whole thing in of itself. And then just a few weeks after the transfer window closed, we announced the signing of Emanuel Emegha, who will be joining us at the end of this season. But with Emegha having been out with injury for a little while and his replacement absolutely smashing it, did Chelsea pull the trigger too soon? But guys, before we get into the video today, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so a comment on my last video about the young superstars doing well at Strasbourg is going to prompt me to say this before. Just to clarify my opinion on the Strasbourg situation, right? Now, I've done loads of videos on this, man. I've done at least 3 videos talking about the Strasbourg situation and the multi-club model in general. I don't love the whole idea as a neutral fan who thinks it's important for football clubs to be able to maintain their culture and not just become part of these big capitalist machines. Do you know what I mean? My general opinion on it is, as a Chelsea fan, I like the idea of the multi-club model because, you know, you can see how it benefits the team and it helps us kind of get around some of the restrictions of like the loan system and stuff. But at the same time, I can only imagine what it must be like to be a fan of a team that's been bought out by one of these clubs. So there is nuance to this in general. Lots of Strasbourg fans, the Ultras in particular, are really, really not happy about the Blueco thing and with us sending them like academy products and young players and buying players. And, you know what I mean? It's, you know, loads of them feel like they're losing their identity. But there is another side of that as well. I had a chat with a great guy in the comments when I was talking about us being interested in buying Santos in Brazil. And a Santos fan, who I don't speak to Brazilian fans very often, he came into my comments and was like, I actually think it would be great if Blueco bought Santos because it would give us the financial muscle to start competing in our league again. So, you know, ultras of any teams, especially European teams, you know, Italy is the same. They are very, very vocal. And the French people in particular, very, very proud, fiery and passionate people. And I absolutely love that, having lived there for 4 years. But there is another side to that as well. So my general opinion is like, as long as it works for the club and it doesn't completely destroy their identity and helps them succeed, you know, one of the other videos I did was about the situation with what happens if all of these teams get into the Champions League, and it can get complicated and stuff. Do you know what I mean? As a Chelsea fan, obviously I like the idea of an extended Chelsea family. That seems awesome to me, but I completely understand from the perspective of the fan of one of these clubs how you might lose your identity. So generally I'm okay with it if a balance can be maintained. But with that out of the way, let's move on to the actual story. So Emanuel Emegha looks really, really good, man. Do you know what I mean? He scored 14 goals in the league last season in about 28 appearances, 27, 28 appearances. He's a big, tall striker, kind of in the Nicholas Jackson mould, and he agreed a deal to come and join us at the end of this season. Okay, cool. Then he got injured in September, and he was supposed to be coming back earlier than he did. It was foreseen that he might be available for their game against PSG, which they drew 3-3 in October, but his injury has gone on for longer than that. And as of right now, you know, at the time of writing, nearly 2 weeks later, as far as I'm aware, he's still out. And I would have thought he'd be back soon, but it is a hamstring issue, right? Because, of course, Chelsea have bought a player with injury troubles. What a surprise, mate, this season for injuries, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, Emegha is a Chelsea player now. That is just what is, do you know what I mean? And Strasbourg fans were not happy about that. There's been banners and this, that and the other. But what has happened is kind of crazy in its place. They have a player called Joaquin Panichelli, who is an Argentinian striker, 23 years old, so only 1 year older than Emegha, who is absolutely killing it at Strasbourg this season, man. He has scored 8 goals in the league and 1 goal in the Conference League, giving him 9 goals in total this season. So, obviously, the news has come out and the rumours are swirling that Chelsea are monitoring Panichelli's situation as well. Did we pull the trigger on Emanuel Emegha too early? Realistically, the answer to that is no. Do you know what I mean? Before we go any further, like just based on his performance last season, Emegha looks like a really, really top player, looks really, really good. And it's only situational with the injuries and Panichelli coming in and doing so well. Now, I don't think, as much as okay, let's just talk about the differences in the strikers before I get into my opinion on whether I think this is even something we should look at or not. Like I said, Emegha is much more of like a Jackson type player. He drifts wide, he gets assists. Do you know what I mean? Before his injury, he had 2 goals and 2 assists in sort of 4 or 5 appearances during the league this season. So he kind of started in red hot form and was looking really good. Panichelli is much more of like a direct marksman. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't do as much in the way of long passing and kind of dropping deep and getting involved in the play and stuff. He's a bit more of like I say, like not a target man, but like a forward. Do you know what I mean? And less so of like I can drift out wide or I can drop deep or this, that, and the other. And his goal return kind of backs that up as well. Do you know what I mean? Because in the absence of Emegha, he's played 8 games in the league. He's got 8 goals in the league and 1 goal in the Conference League. So man is banging him away. Ultimately, he does actually fit the profile as well because of the age. Do you know what I mean? He's 23 years old. We've got a couple of Argentinian players in the team. So, the likes of, Buenanotte at the moment probably won't be here at the end of the season, but Enzo Fernandez and people for him to come in and talk to and connect with. And I don't know, man. So, very, very different profiles of strikers, almost not exactly the same, but kind of similar to the difference between João Pedro and Liam Delap, who, we already have. I do see the value in trying to have lots of different types of strikers on the books. And Emegha is probably more different to the types of strikers we got. I guess if you were to compare Panichelli to anyone in the squad that we've already got, it'd probably be a bit more like Liam Delap, although he's not quite as big and bullyish and brutish as Liam Delap is. Do you know what I mean? So, is it okay to just keep robbing Strasbourg of their strikers? No, not really, man. No, not really. Do you know what I mean? It'd be one of those weird things where I don't really support it, but at the same time, it's like if we went in and did buy Panichelli and left Emegha there on loan for another season to develop or something, because for instance, we've done some stuff like that, haven't we? Like we bought Mamadou Sarr at the very beginning of the transfer window, and we've loaned him back to Strasbourg for this season. So it's not crazy to think that something like that could happen. Ultimately, this connection with Strasbourg is only going to continue to grow. The only way that will change is if Strasbourg are looking like they're going to get into the Champions League, then Chelsea or Bluecoats, can declare like a few months before the end of the season, okay, we are going to not have any involvement in that squad next season. And it will be handled by an intermediary that's not connected to the overall structure. That's the only way you can get away with that. But yeah, we can't take both of them, and what we also can't really do, like for instance, I think Mark Gue would probably do quite well over at Strasbourg. Do you know what I mean? Liam Rosinia seems to be really good with young strikers, and it's a good place for players to develop and also do well. They're sitting 7th at the moment. Do you know what I mean? They were in 5th at some point last season, and they were looking like they were going to get into the Champions League, and they had are looking like it is possible for them to do that again this season because they're having really good performances. But we can't just keep draining. The thing is, even if you just look at it from Liam Rosinia's perspective, right, the manager over there at the moment, he's already had to deal with Strasbourg shifting out and selling a lot of their team and bringing in loads of new players. Like they sold a midfielder to Sunderland for 30 mil. Obviously, players are going in and out all the time. We sold Diego Moreira, obviously over there. We sold Matisse Mugu over there. We're out there. We've got on loan Mamadou Sarr, Mike Penders, and Kendry Paez as well. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure Emegha and Panichelli are both players that were bought by Blueco. So it's an extension of the Chelsea scouting network at the end of the day, which is good. Do you know what I mean? It's good. This is one of the good things about the multi-club model, that, you know, you can sort of use these extended scouting networks and the different clubs to kind of bring talent in. I do, like I say, as a Chelsea fan, I like it, but it's just, mate, it's just going to get a bit silly, isn't it? If like every single season Strasbourg get gutted and refilled with like new youngsters, whether it be loan players. You know, for instance, at the end of this season, we'll probably bring Mamadou Sarr back because he's having a good season. He's playing lots and lots of games, the centre-back, do you know what I mean? And if he comes into the squad next season, then they're going to need another centre-back. We sold them Ben Chilwell right at the end of last season. Was that a player they really needed? I don't know. Is he playing a huge amount? I don't think he's not even playing every game, do you know what I mean? And that was a permanent sale as well. So, I don't know. I think, you know, I think it could start to get a little bit messy from the Strasbourg perspective if we just keep gutting Liam Rosenior's team every single season. And also, is that actually then good for the development of the players? Do you know what I mean? Because what ideally you want is to be able to loan a couple of players there every season and for them to play with like a settled team. So there's less pressure on them to kind of be the man that makes the difference, and they've got a team around them that are kind of used to playing well. And, you know, ultimately, I want Strasbourg to do well. You know, it's complicated for the multi-club model if Strasbourg get into the Champions League and Chelsea get into the Champions League. Like I say, I've done a whole video on that, and it is very, very complicated, but it is possible in order to make that happen. But, you know, just because Panichelli's having... I mean, at the end of the day, if Panichelli keeps going, he'll score 20 goals this season. Do you know what I mean? We're not even close to halfway through the league, and he scored 8 goals in the league already. Do you know what I mean? So it is a difficult one, isn't it? Because if Emegha carries on being injured as well, it is one of those things, isn't it? Like, it's a hamstring injury. You know, we've just seen with Liam Delap, we've obviously all got PTSD from Reece James's last few years of suffering and dealing with that hamstring injury. All of a sudden, the scope looks a little bit different now, doesn't it? So... it's a really tough one, basically. At the end of the day, Emegha, on his day, when fit, looks like a great player. And you could see how he would, you know, definitely be challenging the likes of João Pedro at the moment, you know, because he's a bit more direct than João Pedro. And yes, he does drift wide and he can create, but he's definitely more of an advanced forward. So yeah, Emegha would definitely challenge the likes of, you know, on his day, João Pedro and Liam Delap at the moment for a starting spot at Chelsea. Absolutely, he would. But so with Panichelli, very different types of players, like I say. So guys, I'd really like to know what you guys think about this in the comments. Like I say, I had a really interesting comment on the last video. So, you know, I really just want to get this out there just in case any of you are thinking the same thing. I am not trying to use the multi-club model to get financial gain. Do you know what I mean? I've only just monetized my YouTube channel, so, you know, that video in itself has earned me about 10p. So all of these opinions that I am making are literally because I want to talk about them and I find them fascinating as a Chelsea fan, not because I'm trying to use the downfall of another club's culture in order to make money. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm absolutely not there at the moment. And if I ever do get to a point where I'm earning a lot of money from YouTube, then I'll be really careful with stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But just based on that one comment, I just wanted to get it forward. I generally will talk about the Strasbourg situation from the Chelsea point of view and how having those players, you know, connected to Chelsea and in the Chelsea squad can benefit us. But I do understand that Strasbourg, you know, there is an issue there. Do you know what I mean? The multi-club thing in itself, you know, there is a dark side to it. I literally did a video called The Dark Side of Multi-Club Ownership. Do you know what I mean? So I'm very, very aware that that's a thing. So we'll just move on to a couple of other little stories that we've seen today, one of which I actually find really interesting. It's about Marc-Andre ter Stegen, right? So obviously Mike Maignan was like the main keeper that we've kind of been talking about and looking at for a while in terms of getting an experienced keeper to come in next season. But that talk has now shifted to Marc-Andre ter Stegen, who is 33 years old, and supposedly Chelsea are keen on looking for a deal for him if a short-term deal can be made. That's really, really interesting because what that instantly tells you is maybe Mike Penders isn't just going to come next season. Maybe, you know, I do believe 100% that Mike Penders is going to be the guy for the long term. Absolutely, I do. But interestingly, the fact that, you know, we're still maybe talking about Mike Maignan and now Marc-Andre ter Stegen is coming up and being talked about at 33 years old, specifically interested, Chelsea are interested in getting a short-term contract for him. Maybe that kind of says next year isn't the year for Mike Penders. Do you know what I mean? Maybe we do want like an experienced keeper in the sticks to try and make a difference to the first team straight away before putting all of that pressure on Mike Penders. And maybe that means we allow him to stay out on loan at Strasbourg for another year, which personally I think would be a great idea. Do you know what I mean? It's good for them. It's good for us. He's doing really well out there. He's a great keeper. And, you know, a couple of seasons at Strasbourg for Mike Penders, like I say, would just kind of benefit everyone, really, wouldn't it? It's always good to have a good goalkeeper in the sticks. So Marc-Andre ter Stegen, yeah, man, like, find that really interesting, to be honest. You know, in and around the same sort of feeling as Mike Maignan. If anything, it makes a bit more sense because he's a little bit older. Do you know what I mean? And also, like, has played a lot of top-tier football, like a lot of top-tier football. He's got loads and loads and loads and loads of experience, and he's won stuff. Do you know what I mean? That kind of leadership aspect might be a thing there as well. So I do find that really, really interesting. And just one last, like, absolutely crazy news story that I saw today. I'm not 100% sure if it's true, but I have commented on it like a long time ago. Potentially Chelsea are interested and keeping an eye on, at least, in Camavinga from Real Madrid, who just had a really good performance out there on the right wing, which is unusual because he is like a centre midfielder, like a box-to-box centre midfield playmaker kind of guy. But he's also played left back for them quite a lot at the start, and now he's played right wing. Do you know what I mean? Really, really versatile player. And we know how Chelsea and Enzo Maresca absolutely love versatile players. That also, I guess, could be, you know, the conversation could be had in the same breath about Real Madrid's interest in Enzo Fernandez, which I don't think is going to go away. Do you know what I mean? It'd be obviously Enzo's form and fitness is going to be a big part of that. Like if he drops off a cliff for the rest of the season, then yeah, okay. And he's not even playing that well right now, but he is still one of our better midfielders when he's available. So Eduardo Camavinga, still really young, very, very versatile player, can fill in lots of roles and positions. Left back, midfield, right wing, apparently. Do you know what I mean? I really like Camavinga. It's really, I feel like it's really, really, really difficult to be a really young player that goes to Real Madrid. We saw the same thing with Martin Odegaard. He went there at 15 years old, and now obviously absolutely killing it at Arsenal when he's fit. And, obviously that's kind of been his issue for the last few years. But when you're 15 and 16, 17, like Camavinga was, do you know what I mean, going to Real Madrid, it's so hard to break into that team. And the thing is, you could be there for 2 or 3 years and still be 18, 19, not even 20, but already out of their thoughts. Do you know what I mean? Interesting. I think it's Endrick, is it, as well? They've got a young Brazilian winger. Same sort of thing with Rodrigo at the end of the day. Now, Rodrigo did actually play quite a lot for Real Madrid, but he's still really, really young. Do you know what I mean? So I think being a really young player at Real Madrid comes with its whole other level of difficulty compared to being a young player at almost any other club. Do you know what I mean? Because you're always pretty much going to be up against some sort of Galactico. You're fighting for your spot. And Real Madrid obviously just like want to keep winning. And it's difficult to be a squad player at Real Madrid, do you know what I mean? Because, you're at Real Madrid and you want to play. And if you're not playing, then you think you're good enough to be. If you're going to Real Madrid, you probably think you're good enough to be in the first team. And if you're not getting in the first team on a regular basis, then your eyes, you've probably got one eye out the door more often than not. So Camavinga, yeah, I like him, but that's 80 mil. Do you know what I mean? That's 80 mil. And, I only even see us thinking about something like that is if the Enzo Fernandez news heats up a little bit more and becomes a bit more concrete. Do you know what I mean? So, guys, that is today's little roundup of transfer news. We are playing Wolves in the Carabao Cup tonight, and I shall be streaming over on FFB, Football Fans and Beyond, at the channel of my good friend Lewis. I will put out the link and share the link to the stream in my community post later. Come and hang out with me while we watch the Wolves game. Hopefully it's going to be a demolition. Hopefully it's going to be fun. Either way, the live streams are always fun when you guys come and chat it out with me, man. I absolutely love it. So, nice one, guys. I hope you're all having an absolutely wicked day. And if you haven't already seen it, check out this video, which is my preview and predicted starting 11 for the game against Wolves tonight. Nice one, guys. Take it easy. Peace.